looking at the forecast. I didn't think it was going to rain all day. Looked good when I first got up this morning. How you doing, y'all? This is 1100 WSGI. I'm U-Turn Lavern, your host on these airways. You know that, Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. And you might be tuning in thinking that Laurie Riley's going to be joining me because she typically, this is the first day of the month. Hope you had a good Independence Day. I hope you enjoyed celebrating the independence that so many that have gone before us have bought and paid for. And I hope you spent some time not just shooting off fireworks, but remembering the sacrifice and those men that signed that Declaration of Independence. Once the Declaration of Independence was signed, there was a battle ahead for a very, very long time. It took them to gain our independence before we were ever officially a nation as we know today. But oh my goodness. So because Laurie called me yesterday and she had her father-in-law died suddenly, and so she said of course she couldn't come on today, and I called my friend Donovan Hilton. How are you doing, Donovan?
I'm doing great, U-Turn. What about yourself?
I'm doing really good. Excited for a brand. Look at it. I'm just excited for, there we are. I was showing him on Facebook. We got the whole social media thing going there. Hello, Facebook. How are you doing? And if you're listening to us regularly, Donovan, when did I first meet you? It's been at least a year.
I would say about a year ago.
Okay.
Yes.
And it was, I'm the chairman of the local Republican Party. The views and opinions expressed on this program are my own and do not necessarily express the views and ownership of this radio station. And you came to one of our party meetings.
Yes.
And your beautiful family. I have to say this about your wife, Malika. She is so funny because last week we were talking a lot about all the COVID stuff and how that we've got to find our joy again. And I said, smile so big that they can see your smile in your eyes even though you're wearing a mask. And your wife is that person. Because she walked up to me at the Train of the Pig the other night and that her eyes just sparkled. And you could just see that smile behind the mask that she was wearing. And she's here with us, but she's staying off camera. And but she's just a joy. You know that, right? You're blessed. You got a special lady there.
A very fortunate man.
You're so sweet. I just love you guys to pieces. And we had, when you came up and I saw you on Friday night, it was Friday night, I thought, man, I got to get Donovan back on. I didn't know the opportunity was going to come so quickly.
Yes.
And so I called you last night and I said, okay, number one, I want to talk to you about what your impressions were of the senatorial candidates, because you got to meet the two front runners, I would say, Dr. Mandy Sethi and former Ambassador Bill Haggerty on Friday night. We were blessed to have both of those with us. And so I wanted to get your impressions on that. But I also told you, I said, I have been challenged a couple of times on social media, saying that I am not connected to the black community. And I said, I need a liaison. I need somebody that can help me stay plugged into that. And I was challenged that I had not had enough people from the community on the radio, and I agree with that. And so I want to be more intentional about really reaching out into the black community here in Springfield and Robertson County, and making sure that the things that are going on, that we speak to those. And so that I told you, I said I need you to help me with this, and so you very graciously said you would come on. And I appreciate that.
Thank you for inviting me. It's great to be back.
Absolutely.
I've been on the show before, so
absolutely.
So thank
you.
You
came on as my business of the week. But before we get into this, tell them what you do.
So I am a marketing expert by trade. My wife and I own a marketing business, Hylton Elite Marketing Agency, and we're just focused on increasing the customer base and community presence of our clients, mostly employers looking to get into more lower-income communities to help people get to work, and working with real estate developers as housing and development all over Middle Tennessee is growing. Those developers need to do a better job of connecting to working in diverse communities, and so my wife and I are contracted to do that as well.
That's wonderful.
And a lot of that has spilled into government relations when you're working with housing, as well as employment. I was a former director of admissions for a career college, so non-traditional education, post-secondary education, I've had a chance to experience that as well. So when it comes to housing, employment, education, all that does encompass government relations to a huge extent. So I find myself, my wife and I, traveling into that journey as well.
That's very cool. And I mean, you guys are just out there all the time. I see you. You got 3 beautiful little boys.
Thank you.
What are the ages?
Our oldest will be 11 this August,
Oh,
and our
that's cute.
twins just turned 8 on the 1st of June.
Now, see, I had my twins on the front. I had my twins. My twins were 3.5
See.
when the second one was born, and 4.5 when the fourth one was born. So you need one more. You need one more boy.
We'll see.
I saw that. Okay, well, look, it's like you just.
Up to the Lord on that one.
You're so funny. You're so funny. But it's just a sweet couple, precious couple. And y'all are living here in Springfield now.
Correct.
So,
Yes.
and you moved to Springfield how long ago?
I would say 9 months ago, 8 or 9 months ago now.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so, and your story is so intriguing because, you know, when you first came to Tennessee, you didn't know where you were going to live. You're basically homeless. You were staying with Malika's family, right?
That's correct.
And so, your journey, I love your journey and the way that you have just you have made your path. You have determined your future. And I love just sitting and talking to you and just getting your insight. And that's why I wanted to really reach out to you and just, you know, I didn't really mention this to you yesterday, but I want you to be a regular. I want you to be a regular coming on here, and let's talk about the things going on in the community. And now the one challenge we're going to get is because you're a conservative. And would you define yourself as a conservative?
I would say so, yes.
Okay. And, because, I mean, he showed up at the Republican meeting, okay? And so, would you say in large, the vast number of people in the black community are conservative or well, let's just, when it comes down to the parties,
Yeah.
do you, I mean, and I hate the parties. Y'all know what I'm saying. I mean, I detest that we have painted ourselves into the Democrats and the Republicans. And, you know, and I mean, we've got to get back to just being Americans and just doing the right thing. And, you know, it's just, unfortunately, that's the box we've made for ourselves politically. And so, you know, as you look at that, though, would you say that by and large, there's more on the Democrat side than on the Republican side in the community?
I would say as far as the black community, from what I can see,
Right.
from what I can see and experience, mostly on the Democratic side. But when I have private conversations, it's traditionally going to the conservative side, and I've had a lot of folks say, "Well, don't tell nobody," you know. And that, you know,
yeah.
But that's how.
But no, seriously, because they don't want to be chastised in the community. Because I mean, I've been getting excoriated by, you know, yeah, and I mean, and by somebody I don't even know,
Yep.
and that just is just insulted. Here's the thing, folks. Please put social media in its proper perspective. Whenever we have this little place where we put the things that matter to us, they matter to us.
Yep.
And to the person who is putting the things on that page, these are the things, it's like I'm going, here's the things that I care about, here's the things that I want to share with people. If you don't want to read it, if it bothers you, just scroll past it.
Let's go past
I
it.
have got some of my dearest, I have got so many dear friends that are, my son, I have a son that describe, I mean, I'm specifically not really sure what he described, but he is absolutely polar opposite of me politically. And you know what? He loves Jesus, and I'm okay. You know, we just don't talk politics because it can get a little bit, you know. And I joke around, if he had been in the area when I ran for Congress, he probably wouldn't have voted for me. Isn't that sad? But he wasn't he didn't live around here. But I guess the thing is, I'm just so tired. What do we got to do to unite? What do we got to do to get this back together, Donovan?
Great question. I will say this, Lavern, I don't even think I've told you ever. But I was the former regional vice chair for the Davidson County Democratic Party.
See? I had a feeling that you had that.
Yes,
okay.
And I'll give you the story.
Okay, yeah, I want to hear this.
And feel free to go to vote for, the numerical 4, Donovan Hilton on Facebook. That's my political page. And it started in 2015 when I ran for city council.
Right.
In Nashville, District 2.
Right.
And,
I knew you ran for council.
Yeah, ran for city council. In my heart, I ran as an independent. I was never involved in any parties. I didn't know anything about it.
Right.
I was just a young man that was encouraged by the community that I serve, mostly helping to raise funds and provide strategic partnerships for nonprofits. He said, "Hey, Donovan, the seat is open. You should run."
Right.
And so I ran. I had 11 votes, toward me, and a couple $100 in my campaign. And ultimately, the person that ended up winning the seat during the runoff, the council person called and said, "Donovan, hey," because the council person that won and myself, we weren't really seeing. I guess campaign season, so we're competing, if you will.
Right.
But during the runoff, he called me and said, "Donovan, hey, if I win, I want you to take this committee member seat for the Democratic Party because no one knows who you are. You're new to town, and it's about who you know.
Right.
In so many words. So I didn't know anything about it. I was skeptical about taking the position.
Sure.
But I said, if this is going to help me get a better understanding of how the political process works, let me go ahead and experience it.
Yeah.
And the day I walked in for the first meeting, I was sworn in. I was voted to serve as the regional vice chair.
Right.
I oversaw 7 councilmatic districts, predominantly in the African American community.
Right.
Districts 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And so for 4 years, I had a chance to experience and go behind the scenes and work on different projects and hear the perspective of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that I did not get a chance to experience, and the people that I worked with were just great people.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, U-Turn, ever since I've met you and known you, and what gravitated me to you was you always say, hey, and you make it public, I have friends that are Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
And we, like you just said, we don't see eye to eye all the time, you
Yeah.
know, but at the same time, we have a conversation, and we're able to move forward as friends. And
Right.
the moment I heard you say that, that's the moment I said, okay, this is the chairperson of the Republican Party. The moment I heard that, I said, hey, you know, this is someone that is genuine, and it's always, I mean, every time I see you, you're throwing it out there. So
Yeah.
let's have these conversations.
Well, thank you.
You know, oh, absolutely, let's have these conversations, which makes me feel more comfortable. But ultimately, under the great leadership, you know, of that organization and the people there, one thing that I did not get a chance to experience was having access and conversations with the other political party that also dominated Nashville and Middle Tennessee.
Right.
As a regional vice chair and working with predominantly the African American community, so-called black community, I was like, well, if I have a question, who can I talk to on the other side? You know, traditionally the stream, the protocol was to reach out to, I guess, the hierarchy on the Democratic side, and they will have the conversation. But being a young person and wanting to find out exactly how the civic process worked, I wanted to make sure that I was able to find out who the decision makers were. And because I wasn't led to the decision makers, I had to go out and go to different events and activities and meet with elected officials and community leaders on the Republican conservative side. And a lot of times I found myself being the only person of color there.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, you know,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I started to build a lot of great relationships, and
Right.
there were a lot of transparent conversations. You know, I've been
Right.
to all kind of things, and you'll be surprised how members of the Republican Party were saying, Donovan, we could just have a conversation and sit down, you know, with
Yeah.
somebody. That's all I hear. I promise you, this is integral conversation that's very much needed, and all I can do is give my opinion, you
Right.
know.
Right.
But there was one time I went to an event and I went to go use the restroom, and this may sound weird, but I went to use
Those
the restroom.
are the best stories. The weird ones are the best stories, Donovan. Those are the ones that we remember.
I went to the restroom and I washed my hands, and I want to say there was 3 Republicans that happened to walk in, and they were just asking not so many questions, but questions saying, hey, I grew up and a lot of my friends were black, and this is, you know, so just the questions that they were having, and the best that I could try to answer them, had me in the bathroom for 45 minutes.
Oh my.
And it ended up being, it was, you know, and Malika's walking around the restaurant. I just said, where is my, and in my mind I said, this could go 2 ways. This could be a great thing or not a great thing. But again, obviously the people that I was talking to and I continue to talk to on the Republican side, you know, have never had any animosity or never disrespectful, have never said anything. I know the media says one thing, but as far as individuals that I've met with, it's always been, hey, like you said, what do we do? Where do we go from here?
Right.
How can we help? Like you just said, you know,
Right.
how do we identify
Right.
the topics of conversation? And
Right.
so I just found that to be a powerful thing when someone, and there's been times I told folks that I was former regional vice chair of the Democratic Party. It's my first time telling you you turned.
Well,
So,
and I don't think we had that conversation,
never had.
but I'm really not surprised because you are compassionate and you're caring, and if you grew up it's just like this. If you grew up in the Baptist church, and you decide that you want to be maybe a community church person later on, you're going to gravitate to what you were going to say. You know what I mean? It has to become your own.
Absolutely.
And so if you're growing up in a family in a community that is dominated by the Democratic Party, of course, as you get interested in politics, you're going to gravitate to what is familiar.
Absolutely.
And then that's where I tell people, I said, my children, I've got one, God help me, that's an atheist right now. But I taught my children to think for themselves. And my prayer is that he's going to come back full circle and come back to where full faith in Jesus Christ and God the Father. And I know that in my heart that he will. But like I said, I have a whole, this is the one I lose sleep over, not the one that's a Democrat. I love him. He's the one getting married this weekend. God bless him. And he is awesome. He is an awesome young man. We just don't agree on politics. Absolutely. But he loves Jesus. Like I said, but you would, of course, I'm sorry, I'm going, I know this conversation is going to go all over the place.
This is how we really talk, you and I. So.
Yeah, it's just that we don't get a chance, but we're going to start. Yes. I want you in here. I want you in here if it has to be once a month, whatever your schedule will accommodate. And bring in people from the community that we can talk to. And this is something, this is just real random. Some people tell me to say, don't say African American, just say black. And back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. What is it? Does it really matter? Do you find it disrespectful for somebody just to say black instead of African American?
No,
I said the black community, and then you said African American. Yeah. So what I tend to do is, if I hear somebody refer to that, then I gravitate back to that out of respect.
I understand.
And so, but my whole life, you know what I mean? I don't know. We just want to do the right thing. We just want to be respectful and do the right thing.
And I guess you and I are filling off each other because in the black community, the African American community, some don't even like either words. Some prefer and actually say I'd rather choose this word or that word. And so I find myself doing history on where did that even start? But I will say, if I can find this, and I'll say, if you go to the Vote for Donovan Hilton Facebook page, and because I started predominantly on the Democratic side, and since I've been able to meet folks and get to be introduced to different situations and experiences, I had to create a disclaimer on my Facebook page to say, hey, look, this page is going across all political parties, all affiliations, economically, socially, culturally, that relate to government relations. And so, so a lot of people were saying, well, Donovan, you're usually over here. Now we see you way over there. And so for a good, at least 6 months to a year, even on that, from the Democratic side, I had a hard time. And now people are just starting to accept, hey, Donovan is not always over here. And he's building and maintaining new relationships. And to prove your point in regards to bringing people on, there are a lot of black African Americans that are doing a lot of great work in the community that would love to be on the show and have a professional, transparent conversation that may be Democrat. And a lot of times those young folks that are putting in work will call me now to this, and please, you are in the community, you know me, please just back me up here as far as my work and my actions and what I do, because a lot of these young folks call me now that are movers and shakers in the Democratic Party and doing great things to say, hey, Donovan, we need a conversation with this individual or this side. And they know that I have access to do that now.
Right.
And if we hadn't met over a year ago and continued to be professional and build this relationship for a moment such as today, where it's very important for race relations and everything else, we wouldn't be able to have this conversation because you and I will still be stuck in our biases, And so, like I said, even at the training of the pigs, at Greenbrier City Hall. The only people of color there, Malika and I, other than the Greenbrier High School students that were maybe on the baseball team or something. And we stuck out like a sore thumb. And a lot of people we already knew, and more importantly, by the time we left, we made a lot of great new friends. I want to shout out Mr. Sam Owens. He creates customized pens, and he also does writing. I forgot the terminology, but he writes and carves in wood different messages and things of that nature. Met a lot, and he runs his own, he's retired, but met a lot of great people that I feel would love to have conversations. And like you said, when does the question become, or the statement is, we are Americans. Do we have to go to a break?
Let's go ahead and go to a break. She said, hey, you're going to keep me on schedule here. That'll give you a chance to kind of take a break here. But we do need to take a break. We've got 3 breaks that we take during One Street Over. And let's start with Barry and Rebecca. Tell them U-Turn sent you. And if you're just joining me and you're expecting, well, where's Laurie Riley? She's usually here on the first day or the first Monday of the month. Her father-in-law died very suddenly. And so please keep that family in your prayers as they move forward. But I called my friend Donovan Hilton last night, and I said, I have got a sudden opening, and I really think this is very timely, especially coming off of Independence Day. And with, I don't know if you saw the rioting downtown and the arrests that were made downtown last night in Nashville. That was, I said, what are we going to do, to heal this rift? I mean, what have we got to do to come back together and to stop this stuff? And I mean, I just want to know what the right thing to do is. And so I said, you need to be my liaison. So I'm hoping if we can work out his schedule that he's going to be in here maybe once a month. I think you want to do once a month or once every 6 weeks.
Once at the minimum, let's try once a month.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. All right. So once a month, if you're in the community and you're like, Laverne never has anybody from the African American or the Black community on. Call me if you can't get a hold of me. Talk to Donovan. We'll get you in here. And you do not have to agree with me. I told Donovan last night, I said, I kind of hope that we don't agree on everything. Because that means that you should not come to things with, well, this is what Mama did, this is what Daddy did, this is what I'm going to do. What are you going to do? What is your education? What does your experience tell you to do? In truth, just seek truth, man. That's just seek truth.
And I will say, even with regards to my family and friends, I get a hard time, for helping, especially those that are predominantly Democrat, helping to see another perspective. And a lot of times I just ask a question.
Right. And
because of that, my family is going far as saying, well, Donovan, I'm not going to go there, but just, what the traditional media would say, and like you said, but unfortunately, you have to just keep going through, and you have to, because this situation here is so important.
Right.
I even go as far as now, this is on live camera, we just say, hey, let's start doing this once a month. I even have statements at times where people come to me and say, well, Donovan, you're getting paid by the Republican parties, and you're the black face.
I ain't got no money. I ain't paid nothing.
These are the things that I hear, you're getting paid, and the Republican Party, now they're using you. And it's like, no, I came in on my own free will to build relationships, and here's how that relationship has grown within a year. Now, if you feel like you, as a person of color, don't have access to U-Turn and the radio station wholeheartedly, now we're here. And we had to do that, and it wasn't, and there wasn't no animosity, there was no, we've never, and there's been times when we may have disagreed, and I hope that we can get some deep questions here,
I do too.
So that we can see how transparent and open you are to a conversation, and transparent we need to be in moving forward. But I'm gonna read this if you don't mind.
Absolutely, go right ahead.
This is from, this is in regards to George Washington, because going through this process, I don't have all the answers, so I have to do research. And so one of the first things I looked up was, how did the political parties emerge in the U.S.?
Right.
And I'm going to read this. It's about 30 seconds. Only respect for the time.
Take your time. You're fine.
In, let's see. Okay. So when George Washington became president, Washington filled his cabinet with people who had different opinions, so Washington could make more informed decisions as president. The two most outspoken cabinet members were Thomas Jefferson, who was Secretary of State, and Alexander Hamilton, who was Secretary of the Treasury. And Jefferson and Hamilton disagreed almost on everything, and their debates became the foundation for the first two political parties' ideologies, which were the Federalist Party and the Democratic Republican Party. Now, Washington warned that political parties agitate the community with ill-founded, jealous, and false alarms, kindles the animosity of one part against the other, foments occasional riots and insurrection. It opens the door to foreign influence and corruption, which finds a facilitated access to the government itself through channels of poor passion. Give me a second, y'all.
Yeah, you're fine. You're a person after my own heart. Absolutely.
In other words, Washington warned that political parties would lead to division and fighting among the people.
Right.
This, he feared, could lead to foreign influence in the government and other forms of corruption. But despite Washington's warning, the first two political parties in the U.S. rose from his own cabinet. Now, again, I'm not sure how true this statement is. So if you feel like this is incorrect, research it, put in the comments. Another thing about the comments is, if we're expecting to move forward as one unit. Now, if you say we don't want to be one unit, that's another story.
Right.
But if you claim to want to be one unit, we have to be able to have professional conversations and be respectful and honoring of each other. With all due respect, name calling and saying, your opinion, which you have a right to, what you feel about the other person, you have a right to do that and call names, but that's not going to help. It's not going to help bring anything to the table, and more importantly, what you may have done was dishonor that person personally, that they have not been able to see the bigger picture to have a conversation with you, because they're looking at possibly your heart or mind based upon what's coming out your mouth, So just keeping those things in mind, the parties rose from the actual President George Washington's cabinet. Please look it up if you're not, if you want to challenge that. And now parties have become the prominent forces in American politics.
Yeah.
So I do say, when it comes to the parties, you know, that alone brings division. Mm-hmm. And I will say this as well, especially when it comes to division, I will say Black America. And I'm going to say, again, until I figure out, maybe that's the next conversation on the show, you know, where does Black America or African American? Yeah. And please leave it in the comments, you know, or if you feel like you are someone that, or if you feel like you're someone that can, you know, elaborate, reach out to U-Turn or Lavern or myself, and we'll do some vetting and see if we can get you on the show. You know, but we do have to do some vetting.
And they want you to give your website again. We're getting close to the news here. Tell them how, or somebody said, how do they find you on Facebook? How do they find your, that was a question we got in comments.
Thank you. You can find me at Vote for Donovan Hilton, all A's. That's the political side. My Facebook is Donovan Hilton. I really don't add anyone unless I personally know you.
Yeah. But
Vote for Donovan Hilton. You can follow that way. And then also www.e1connect.com. That's the numerical one. Mm-hmm. E1connect.com.
And tell them how to spell Donovan. You spell it with all A's. That's what he was saying, all A's.
All A's. D-A-N-A-V-A-N.
Yeah.
And Hilton is H-Y-L-T-O-N.
So it's some unusual spellings there, and you can get on comments later on my page and put all that up. Now, is your stuff on Facebook, as far as your personal page, is it public, or do you keep that private?
Because
mine's all public.
I believe it's public.
Yeah.
I believe it's public, yeah.
Because you don't have to be friends with somebody to go and view their page and see what they've got public. You know, so that's one thing. If you've got stuff out there, but if you've got your political page too, that you know you can launch from as well and get your thoughts.
That's the political actually is where, like for example, the last post I have is with Candace Owens. You know, so and again, I get phone calls because I have to post these things. Let's say I have to, but I choose to post these things just to get the conversation going.
I would love to know what you think about Candace Owens.
Well, I'm gonna say
we were about on the news, and I had a dear friend of mine that challenged who she is, and I personally think that she's very brave and brilliant. But I want your honest opinion of Candace, and I'm excited to see, because her transition was the same as yours. She was a Democrat, she was more on the liberal side, and she, through her own education, found herself coming up on the conservative side.
I see.
So, you know, so her story is quite like yours, really, when you get right down to it, the transition politically. And I don't want you to get too much into anything else, because I'll have to shut you off, because we're in the last minute.
Okay.
But if you're just joining me, Laurie Riley, they had a sudden death in the family. Her father-in-law suddenly passed away, and give that family all the prayers in the world as they transition the next few days. That'll be difficult, but she's typically my guest on the first Monday of the month. But when I found out she couldn't be here because of the things that were going on and the protests and things like that are happening, and I was challenged that I've not had enough people on from the African American Black community, and I agree, and it's been bothering me, and I didn't really know who to talk to change that. And I had just seen Donovan and Malika on Friday night, and I was like, I know exactly who to call. And so thank you for coming in at the last minute. And he's going to be a regular, as we've just decided. He's going to be coming in once a month to talk to us and bringing other folks in. So we'll be back right after the news with more of One Street Over. That gave me a really good open door opportunity to call my friend Donovan Hilton and say, I need you in here. I need you coming in once a month. And we're just deciding, we were just sitting here talking during the news break, and I wasn't paying attention and turned the news in, but we were talking about, maybe it'll be second Wednesday or something like that, where we're going to have a rotating schedule. But that's not, to me, that's not the only time you come in. I want you, if there's something going on in the community, and I'll tell, just like Mayor Vogel and Dr. Causey from the school board, they have been in so much, not on their set day, because they always come in after the commissioners meeting or after the school board meeting, but just like Dr. Causey's coming in for a special visit tomorrow morning to talk about some of the special planning sessions they've been doing at school. So he's going to come in and speak to that. I want you, that door's open for you guys as well. If there's something coming up and it's like, well, I'm going to be on the show in 2 weeks, but we're only to do this week, just call me and we'll work it in and we'll get it going. So Donovan's going to be a regular. I bet Malika will be popping in here and be a regular sub too, because I'm just going to make her, because I just love her. And she's looking at me like, I don't know about that. But anyway. anyway, so before we went to the break,
Yes.
Candace Owens become a hero of mine. But I am curious to see, what do you think about Candace Owens?
As far as Candace Owens, I respect her as a person, individual, American, especially a woman of color, exercising her right, and speaking her mind.
Right.
So I respect her in that regard.
Right.
I didn't see anything. You know, everyone has their own opinion.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so you know, I didn't feel upset about it or wanted backlash or talk bad about Candace. You know, she said her feelings. You know, and if I ever get a chance to connect with Candace, you know, I'll have a conversation with her. You know, but at the same time, the whole purpose of the American First Amendment is to be able to speak your piece, and we should be able to move forward. Easier said than done. I will say this though. I'll say Black America is a diverse web of interconnected communities.
I agree.
Within a diverse web of interconnected communities centered around the United States of America.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of moving parts. So at the end of the day, even within the own Black community, we're not seeing eye to eye, you know?
Yeah.
So there is no, I would say, no right or wrong answer. It's, I mean, I'm to a degree, I don't know what the statement is, but I would say everyone has their opinion, and everyone is going to look at things differently, even within their own community. Right. But the ultimate community is the United States of America. Right. Now, in the future, we can get to some other conversations because Glenn Beck, I hope I answered your question about Candace.
You did, and here's the thing. If maybe you've only seen one thing that Candace has done, I encourage you to go and watch a lot of her stuff and learn more about her, because there are some of the things that she has said that are a little bit more, I mean, they're more hard to take. Okay, some of the things are just, you know, it's a little bit shocking, some of the things she has said, but then when you go back and look at everything, she's in the same thing with Glenn Beck. You take some things that Candace has said completely out of context. If you take some things that Glenn Beck said out of context, you go, well, that's awful. And then if that's all you know of them, then you don't have the full picture. And so that's one thing. You could take little excerpts of what Candace has said and go, well, that's awful. But then you go back and listen and say, oh, she had a point. And that's my opinion. I believe she's very brave and brilliant, but I've watched a lot, I've watched the body of her work and have seen a lot of her stuff, so I've got a real high opinion of her. But I get, you haven't had enough time to really peel it back and look at it. But what were you going to say about Glenn now? And
also, before I forget, because it was on my notes earlier, I wanted to send our condolences to Miss Riley and their family for the loss of their father, first and foremost.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, but I will do more research on Candace, and that's how growth happens. You know, I don't know enough information. Yeah. I've seen some things, but not enough to speak, especially negatively, because that's not going to help at all. Right. You know, but like you said, hey, for someone that I do respect and follow, hey, check out some more of her work, and you can see where maybe there could be some raising of the eyebrows, and maybe we can talk about that in the future. So that's what I'll do. And absolutely.
And you mentioned Glenn though.
Glenn. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And this is very unique, because I want to say I had a chance to go onto your Facebook and watch the interview. Glenn had, I think it was one of your last posts, one of your recent posts, Glenn had with a African-American pastor. Yeah. And
Zimbabwe. But he's from, like, I don't know, he's from here. I think he grew up in LA, actually.
That's what he said in the statement.
Yeah.
I thought it was a very interesting, at the 4-minute, 25-second mark, it was a very interesting statement that Glenn stated. He said, this is not 1956. It's not 1968. It's not even 1988. We're fine. We want people to be equal. The system is corrupted. Our founding system is so corrupted, it is causing all kinds of problems. We've never really lived up to the Declaration of Independence, but we all want to. But we feel we are absolutely under attack. This kind of message is going to make race relations much worse. How do we help? How do we help? I'm going to say 1 second, please.
Sure, you're fine. And this piece that he's talking about, if you go to my Facebook page, you can see that it's still posted, and it raised a little bit of controversy, but I encourage you to watch it in its entirety. Go ahead.
How do we help? What do we do without playing into the evil of Marxism? And so I had to look at that word.
Okay.
Or the word, I've heard of it, you know, and first of all, the reason I wrote it down was because this is Glenn Beck saying that there are challenges with the system.
Right.
I could be wrong, but that's what he said.
Oh no, absolutely.
You know?
I agree too, and I know him well, and yes.
So there's a common ground there.
He's not either Republican or Democrat.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
No,
okay.
I mean, no, he's independent.
Didn't know that.
Absolutely.
So there's a common ground there where I feel people can at least have a conversation. Yeah. But then he went into, and I say this humbly, without playing into the evils of Marxism. And I feel we can talk about this in the future. Mm-hmm. This is another cultural conversation. Yeah. I had to look up the word Marxism, and if you don't mind me reading.
Go right ahead,
okay.
Yes.
There's two definitions, one from Oxford, and again, if they're not correct, please put it in the comments. From Oxford, Marxism is the political and economic theories of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, please forgive me if I mess those names up, later developed by the followers to form the basis for theory and practice of communism. Wikipedia says Marxism is a political and economic way of organizing society where the workers own the means of production. Socialism is a way organizing a society in which the means of production are owned and controlled by the proletariat, which is the working class people. Mm-hmm. And so what I took out of that message was from Glenn Beck. And I could be wrong, Glenn, and please reach out to us and we can put something together here. But I believe the system is corrupted, but I believe the Marxism part seems to be a challenge, and from what he was saying, and I think that's from the Marx, I think it's more of a cultural and a social conversation, but at the same time that does blend into politics, so you're having multiple conversations in one. Yeah. And, all I'm saying is we need to have more conversations like these. Mm-hmm. Elected officials of all sides need to have more sit-down conversations like these. Business and community leaders need to have more sit-down conversations like these, because this is a political, but then it's also cultural. Mm-hmm. And if we don't get ahead of this and have a conversation, there's going to be misinformation, there's going to be miscues, and we're going to have more challenges than solutions, And so I just wanted to say that even Glenn felt that there are conversations that we have to have.
Oh,
and,
yes.
This really, the biggest thing I want to symbolize today is this is what it's about, right here. Mm-hmm. And if we agree, and I'm sure in the future we'll have some conversation we're not going to agree on,
But we still love each other.
But we still love each other, and that's the whole point of the system that we live in, And so I just wanted to at least point that part out. And if you feel like you would like to leave a comment at the 4:25 mark on that, you're more than welcome. And there was another comment at the 10:40 mark. Where Beck says the most depressing thing about the message that is coming, this is another conversation. We haven't really said this statement or these words. From Glenn's perspective, he says the most depressing thing about the message that is coming out about Black Lives Matters is you're oppressed, you'll never be able to do anything about it unless those people are gone. There's no empowerment in that.
Right.
And I feel like that was a very interesting statement.
Yeah.
And I would love to, in the future, when it comes to the Black community, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that statement? Do you feel like there is something externally that is stopping you from reaching your goals? And if they say yes, that's a fair statement. And we're going to elaborate on that. We're not going to tell anyone if they're right or wrong, but there needs to be an opportunity for everyone to get that information out. And as you can see, there are perspectives that say, hey, that's not the way you empower yourself. That's not the way that you empower the message you're trying, And some people have gone into the Italians and how Scotland were able to, say, hey, we're going to focus on, this is the system, but we're going to be the best at the system and pull ourselves out, and lead that way. Everyone's, I'm just throwing stuff out there to shake
lots of questions. I'm sitting here thinking, okay, we need to do a show on Marxism and socialism. Then we need to do, there's another, just kind of an overall history thing. I want you and me to sit down, and let's not do it, on the air, but you and I kind of share some thoughts, and so we can kind of put our thoughts together so we can, have a little bit deeper conversation from that. So before we're going to do that, Donovan, because you've raised two very good questions. We need to really look at the true history, and we need because that's that statement where Glenn was saying it's not 56, it's not 60, it's not 88. It's to where we are. I wrote a piece a couple of weeks ago where I said I really don't know any racists anymore. Now there's racists out there, but I don't hang out with them, and I used to know them, but most people who I know that were truly racist have either repented or passed away. And there's always going to be that in our society, but I don't want to get off on that. I love the fact that you raised those two questions, because a lot of people don't even understand what Marxism and what socialism really is. They think, well, that sounds good, we're all going to have the same stuff. It don't work that way. And so we need to have that conversation so people understand. People have not been educated to understand what that is. And so we need to start really looking into that and making sure they get that education, and to do a true education of history. That's one thing. I had somebody screaming at me about something, and I was like, everything that's here is footnoted. All you gotta do is go back and see this is all true because it's footnoted. You can say your opinion, but if you haven't got a footnote to back it up, it's just your opinion.
It's just your opinion.
There's a difference between truth and opinion.
Absolutely.
Truth is the footnotes of history that you can go back to. A lot of the times the original documents that were written by our founders in their own hand and say, this is what they thought, not about what I think they thought. This is what they thought because it's in their own hand. I gotta take a break. I'm loving this, man. I wish we had a couple hours. I had somebody ask me this weekend, what was his name? He listens all the time. He said, he goes, the only problem with your show, you need 2 hours. I was like, I would love it, but I've got to go work too. We're gonna talk for a minute about Corbin Creek Greenhouse, Gifts, Nursery, and Gardening Store. They are your source for everything that is just beautiful and flowering and just going to make your yard come to life. They are, of course, the best place to get all the things you need for your vegetable garden too. As we get into the fall, there's going to be fall plantings and things like that you can do. Go and talk to, if you don't know a lot about gardening and you want to learn, just go and talk to Miss Jane, go talk to Amy, and just kind of glean from their knowledge of doing this for so many years. And I'm not really sure how long they've been in business. I need to find that out. But Brother Bill is a part of this as well. He's a farmer, and whenever they started growing hemp again in Tennessee, he said, we need to grow that, and we need to take and make products out of that. And so he went to his mom, Miss Jane, and said, what can we do? They started out with the topical, then they went to the oil production. And if you've heard something about CBD, if like my doctor, you've been told you need to really look into CBD because I have terrible arthritis, I'm floored at what this has done for me. I've got a good friend of mine, I'm not going to tell you who she is yet, but she's been testing it out, and she's starting to see it too. She was taking just a lot of over-the-counter pain meds because she has, she needs a knee replacement, things like that, and she's really starting to see a difference. And she's still kind of not sure, but she says, I think this is really helping me. And so we're going to really talk to her if she's willing later on. But CBD may work for you if you want to give it a try. You want to make sure you're getting stuff that's as closely sourced as possible to make sure you're getting the best possible. And since they grow the plants, they take them to a local lab that is processed into the products they sell at their store. Because they grow it and make it, they can sell it at the farmer's market. Our farmer's market's unique in that no one can be at the farmer's market unless you produce what you are selling. That makes our farmer's market special and unique because of that. And you won't see CBD products there other than ones that have been produced locally, and that is from Corbin Creek Greenhouse. Go by and see them today. They're located at 4920 Highway 161. You can call them at 615-384-3185, 615-384-3185, or stop by and see them Monday through Saturday 9 to 6, and they're open Sunday from 1 to 5. Tell them U-Turn sent you back into the show. Okay, Donovan. I wanted before we because we want to kind of answer the question where we go from here. But before we get there, you met both senatorial candidates.
Yes.
Did you have a favorite, or do you want to just not pick a favorite? I can't because I'm chairman of the party, so I got to stay out of it. But do you have any thoughts you want to share about the senatorial candidates that you met?
I will say if both candidates are open to joining WVOL's radio talk show, specifically the Black Family Talks. I would love to invite both candidates on to that show because predominantly in Middle Tennessee through Mr. John Heidelberg, who's done an excellent job keeping the Black community informed. That will be the first step to building relationship. I feel that both candidates are great individuals. I know them personally.
Yeah.
Dr. Manisetti has a great story.
Oh, yeah.
Being first generation American, where his parents were new Americans coming from India.
Right.
Bill Haggerty, from an economic standpoint, has earned and helped Tennessee win the Economic Development of the Year Award for the nation for Tennessee 2 years in a row. I think it was 2017 and 18, or 2016 to 2019.
Right.
So both individuals have great stories. I'm not going to pick a individual at this point. Publicly, I have someone in mind, but I believe both candidates deserve to get in front of the Black community. And again, that's where I want to step in, and WVOL and is a great place to get started.
Now, what's your affiliation there? Do you do a show there?
I do not do a show there, but
Okay.
I'm usually bringing conservatives to the
Okay.
show. Bringing conservatives to the show. I've spoken the show a few times,
Okay.
and I just promote the work of Mr. John Heidelberg as much as I can when it comes to advertisement dollars. He's self-sustained. His back has been against the wall. Oprah Winfrey, when she was an intern for him, and that's how she got her start.
Right.
It's a lot of history that people don't think about, and so I just try to advocate and just connect and bridge dots. So I mean, so at some point, I would love to just in general purpose, you and Mr. Heidelberg to shake hands. It would be
I
a
would love that.
powerful statement just in that alone.
Oh my
'Cause
gosh.
both of your
I'd be
work
honored.
are amazing.
I would be honored,
Yes.
absolutely. But I just love you. You're just getting deeper all the time. I've just got all these layers, and so okay. On Facebook, like I said, there's been a couple of things where they've looked up our pages, and again, neither one of us are candidates right now. Somebody put up my congressional page, which I just don't really know how to take down because I'm not running for Congress. I kind of leave it up there because I might one day. I don't know. We'll see what I'll go wherever God leads, you know.
That's all you can do. Yep.
And I could definitely see you running for political office because
Wow.
I got a few years on you though. I'm knocking on the door of 60. I'm 58. How old are you?
34.
See, oh yeah. You're old enough to run for president now.
Oh.
There you go. I think you have to be like 32 or something.
Really?
I think I'll look into that. Let's see.
Something like that, yeah.
Wow.
But anyway,
Wow,
I'm
that's-
just saying, you
that's
got a lot of years ahead of you,
Wow.
so I expect to
And-
see you in the political,
and this is coming from-
political arena.
This is coming from the chairman of the Republican Party, and I'm saying that for the community that I serve, you
Yeah.
know, and open to have a conversation and making a statement like that. You know, now, we don't see this enough. We don't see it. We don't see it enough
We're
in
going
the
to see
media.
it more on this show.
There
We're
it
going to
is.
see it more. Absolutely. Okay, so Donovan, where do we go from here?
Our monthly conversation at the minimum, and of course, if there's anything that pops up in the community that I feel that U-Turn needs to make sure that the community is aware of,
Right.
I'll make sure I reach out to you, and also just making sure that I work with the community leaders that I know to see if they're open to stopping by the show, especially when it comes to topics that we're discussing, and I may not be the expert. You know, there's some people just doing great work that are conservative, independent, or Democrat that would love to get in front of you and have a conversation just to see what we can do to work together.
That sounds great. That sounds wonderful. And like I said, we're going to work really hard to have like a set, you know, for some reason, second Wednesday, you know, check that.
I will.
And if second Wednesday works for you, you can come back next Wednesday and we'll just get it going. Because
right.
this is just kind of like the hem of the garment. And so if second Wednesday works for you, we're going to do a 7 a.m. start. I don't have anything on second Wednesdays right now. And that way we just know that that's when you're going to be here and represent the community. And anything you've got, bring it to Donovan. And like I said, the door's always open if there's anything else going on. But
Sounds
check it
good.
if that's it. So if second Wednesday works, then come back in next Wednesday and let's do this again and let's talk some more and just kind of just continue these conversations because I think it's so vital that we do. And, you know, just in the community, I was telling you that I have been thinking that I wanted to reach out to the Garners again. I've had her on, and I just love her. She's precious. I don't know that I've had him on, maybe once, but he just retired, and what an amazing couple in this community. And
Absolutely.
I've been planning on inviting them on for a Faith Friday segment. And I may just, you know, try to get him in next week just to honor him for his retirement, as
Great.
many have. And two, somebody mentioned that he was retiring, and I was like, well, he ain't retiring. He's just going to devote himself to the community and in his ministry. And I think we all know that. So that's such a gift to the community that he is retiring from his daily work because now, you know, everything else that he just works and is a part of, both of them, is going to just get the blessing of having more of his time.
Absolutely.
And so I don't really know him. I've had her on a couple of times, and she's just precious. And but just really love that couple, and mainly I think I told him, I said, it's kind of like you got a prize, you know. So anyway, any parting thoughts, brother? We got just a few minutes here.
Yes, a few seconds. Just want to congratulate Pastor Gardner on his retirement.
Absolutely.
He invited me down to his retirement party at City Hall last week, so I had a chance to attend, and the city highly respects this influential man. He's done a lot of work in Springfield for everyone, and
30 years, I think.
30
right?
years.
Yeah.
And they said, well, Don, what can you do to help? I said, the best thing I can do is just be his legs and pray for this man, because I know he has stood strong during the course of everything for this long. And I know he's been someone people depended on. One of my last departing words as I get ready to say my words for next week is, just for the record, when you walk to the radio station, there was a sign that says, hey, please know that the microphones are wiped down, sanitized,
Yes.
clean, make sure you wash your hands, please feel free to wear your mask. And so they have, based upon, that's another conversation where everybody has their different opinions on that, but I would say the radio station has done an excellent job of following the guidelines and being respectful in that regard. And so all this was taken care of, and the microphone I know will be sanitized and everything when I leave. So just thank you so much for the opportunity, and I do look forward to us
I'm
talking
excited about this. I'm excited. We'll have to bring the boys in sometime too.
Yes.
I mean, because you got some young men that are just going to be movers and shakers. I can see that, and I'm going to have enjoyed watching those boys grow up. And so, from time to time, there'll be the times that we can bring the kiddos in here because I like hearing one of the boys. When we had Manny Sethi, Dr. Sethi, in at the Republican meeting a few weeks ago, asked questions.
That's right.
And he was just, it was awesome.
It was powerful.
It was awesome. I can't remember exactly. Yeah, it was that one of the twins.
Yep.
And so it was just so cool to see them engaging at that age and wanting to be a part of the process. Absolutely. And I just love that, and I just admire you guys for bringing those kiddos out and looking for. We'll bring them in here. We'll talk to them. We'll do like some kiddo interviews.
They're sharp.
Yes, they are. They are. They are cute as they can be. But are they ready for school to get back? What do you think?
They are.
Just a minute here.
I would say they are. They've been out since March.
Yeah.
And they've been very just big helpers and very professional and making, the experience for my wife and I very easy.
Yeah.
And I just thank them so much, and I'm glad to know them, and I do stand in agreement with them and all they do and the production they're going to bring.
Oh, that's awesome. They're good boys. They're good boys, and just so excited to get to go to know you guys better and for this relationship to blossom. So, and with the school mention, I do mention again that Dr. Causey will be in here tomorrow. We'll have just a brief meeting with him. Normally he comes in for the whole hour, so we'll probably just have a half hour with him tomorrow. But he'll come in and we will talk about what they're doing with the planning sessions. I think they have a planning session tomorrow night and one on Wednesday night. And so if you have some input to that, trying to figure out what the school year is going to be structured like, is there going to be an on-campus option and a home option? Are the kids wearing masks? All these kinds of things that are on the table that they're working on trying to decide before, because I mean, in a blink, we're going to be ready to get back to school.
Absolutely.
So
big conversation. Please tune in tomorrow.
Yeah, tune in tomorrow, and like I said, you think next Wednesday is going to work?
I believe next Wednesday will work.
Next Wednesday at 7 is going to be our first, and I think we're going to take an hour. I think we're going to take the whole hour. I really don't think you and I are going to have a problem coming up with stuff to talk about. So Donovan is going to be one of our regulars. We're going to do second Wednesday as of right now, and look forward to seeing you again next week. God bless you.
God bless you.
Thank you. Join us tomorrow for One Street Over.